Hello children, how are you? Hope all are doing well. Welcome back to Konnur online classes. Okay. Let us continue with the previous video, that is about the fundamental unit of life. In the previous class we studied about the plasma membrane or the cell membrane which is present in plant cell as well as in animal cell. Now let us study about the cell wall, the next structure or the cell organelle. Okay, that is the cell wall. Remember children, cell wall is present only in plant cell and it is absent in animal cell. So once again I say cell wall is present only in plant cell. Okay. Now, as I have said you, the cell wall if this is the plant cell, the inner layer is called as the plasma membrane or cell membrane. The outer wall in a plant cell, this outer wall in a plant cell is called as a cell wall. Okay. Inner one is plasma membrane, the outer one is cell membrane or cell wall. You call it as cell wall. Now let us study about the characteristics of this cell wall. It is rigid outer covering. Now what do you mean by rigid children? If I take a paper, right, I can move it. It's not rigid. I can move it. But if I take a duster, can I move it children? So this is called as rigid. In the other sense, this solid you can see, but I am trying to explain you the characteristic of rigid. Means it does not show a easy flexible movement. That is called as a rigid. So this plasma membrane, it is flexible. As I have told you, it is a flexible. It is elastic in nature. But this cell wall is a rigid. It does not move. Okay. Then, as I said you, it is present only in plants and it is absent in animal cell. The inner layer is the plasma membrane and it lies outside the plasma membrane. So it is the outermost wall. The outermost wall in a plant cell is called as cell wall. Now what is this cell wall made up of? The cell wall is made up of cellulose. It is made up of cellulose. Now this cellulose, since it gives you a rigid structure, it helps us to maintain the structure of a plant. Since it is rigid, it helps in the maintaining the structure of a plant. And it also provides a structural strength, giving it a shape. So in quick review, the cell wall, characteristics of cell wall. First thing, it is rigid. Second one, it lies outside to the plasma membrane. So it lies outside to the plasma membrane. It is found only in plant cell and it is absent in animal cell. Now what is this cell wall made up of? The cell wall is made up of cellulose, and these cellulose provide a structural strength to the plant. Now what is the action which is related to this cell wall, right? Plasmolysis. Now first let us study what is plasmolysis. As I told you previously, I hope you remember hypotonic solution, isotonic solution and hypertonic solution. When I place a cell, if this is the cell, when I place a cell in the water, in hypertonic solution what happens? This concentration of water is outside is less. Concentration of water inside the cell is more. At that moment, the cell will lose water. The cell will lose water. After losing water, the structure of the cell will be like this. Right? It shrinks. It's just like a balloon which is filled with water. When the balloon is filled with water, it's bulged shape. But when the water is removed, you will find the balloon to shrink. This is called as shrinkage. Right? So plasmolysis is nothing but when a living cell loses water, when it is losing water, by which process children? Osmosis. Osmosis, that please remember the definition. movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Here it is very important, whenever you put it as osmosis, through a semi-permeable membrane, there is a shrinkage. The word shrinkage, as I said, when a balloon is filled with water and when the water is removed, what shape of the cell comes now? It is referred as a shrinkage. Same type happens with the cell. The cell will lose water and it contracts or it shrinks, losing the shape of the contents of the cell away from the cell wall. So what will happen now? Now this is a cell filled with water. When plasmolysis takes place, whatever water content is present here, it will lose this water content and it will shrink. You will find it like this, right? So this losing of water content from the cell is called as plasmolysis. The process which takes place in plasmolysis, the losing of water by the process of osmosis, is called as a plasmolysis. Once again I repeat, when a living cell loses water through osmosis, the cell will shrink or lose its contents from the cell wall. Right? It loses its content from the cell wall. At that moment, this process of losing water is called as a plasmolysis. Hope the content is clear to you. Now let us move to the next cell organelle, that is a nucleus. Now this nucleus is present both in plant cell as well as in animal cell. As I said in a plant cell, the nucleus is prominent and in the center. The nucleus is prominent and in the center. But when you see that in I stand correct, this is the animal cell. When you see an animal cell, you will find the nucleus to be in the center and it is prominent. Whereas in plant cell, you find the nucleus to be at a corner and the prominent part here is vacuole, right? In animal cell, I will write it. This is the animal cell and this is the plant cell. In animal cell, the nucleus is prominent and here the vacuole is prominent. Nucleus is present in both the cases, plant cells and animal cell. Nucleus is present, but in animal cell it is placed in the center and more prominent. Okay. Now let us study about nucleus. Now how your body is controlled by the brain, right? In the same way, this is cell. Whatever cells in your body are there, each cell is controlled by the nucleus. Whatever activities take place, taking enough oxygen, giving out of oxygen, conversion of ATP, whatever function a cell is having, this all is controlled by the nucleus. That is why nucleus is called as brain of the cell. Who is called the brain of the cell? The nucleus is called as the brain of the cell. Now why is it called the brain of the cell? Because it controls all the activities which are taking place in the cell, not the whole body, within this cell. Now let us go with the structure of nucleus. Okay. Now nucleus is a double membrane. Now if you look like this, I will just draw. This is nucleus, not the cell. Let me put it. Right. Structure. Now this is the nucleus, which is spherical in shape. This is the enlarged corpuscle. Okay. Now this nucleus is spherical in shape, circular in shape, and it is made of two layers to it. So for drawing that two layer, what you need to do is just give the gaps like this, fold it, and give the two layers. The nucleus is consisting of membrane, okay, This outer membrane is called as a nuclear membrane. Go 1 minute back to prokaryotics and eukaryotics. Pro, no nuclear membrane. So this nuclear membrane is absent in prokaryotics. Eukaryotics, it is present. Okay. Now this nuclear membrane, there are two membranes as I said you. This is the outer membrane and this one is the inner membrane. Can you see some space that is left out here, right? These are called as pores and they are called as nuclear pores. Since they are present in the nucleus, they are called as nuclear pores. Pores means holes, okay? But you cannot use the word hole here. Here holes refers to the pores here. So you call it as nuclear pores. And again in the nucleus you have one more spherical structure, which you call it as nucleolus. There is no much detailed study for you at this level, okay? You just need to label it nucleolus. Nucleolus. And inside the nuclear membrane, there are thread-like structures, okay? These are thread-like structures. These thread-like structures are called as chromatin fibers. They are called as chromatin So this is all about the structure of a nucleus. Once again in gist, the outer layer of a nucleus is called as nuclear membrane. The outer membrane is called, the outer one is called as the outer membrane. Then it is having an inner membrane. Then there is a gap. These holes, what you call, they are called as nuclear pores. And there is one more spherical structure inside the nucleus. It is called as nucleolus. And you can find a thread-like structures inside, which are called as chromatin fibers. Now these chromatin fibers, now they are thread-like structures. Okay, during the time of cell division, these thread-like structures arrange themselves into rod-shaped structures. They arrange themselves into rod-shaped structures. These rod-shaped, they look like this. You might have seen it, right? So these rod-shaped structures are called as chromosomes. These rod-shaped structures are called as chromosomes, and they can only be seen during the cell division. During normal time, they are present in the form of thread-like structures, and these thread-like structures are called as chromatin fibers. Now we shall study about chromosomes in the next video. Till that, please read whatever contents are given. Already notes are passed to you in the WhatsApp group. Okay? Please refer it, go through it. If any doubts, please contact me.